I just got back from my mechanics, and really I hate bringing bad news from Harley, but some things you just can't let go. Hey, welcome back to the channel, folks. If you're new here, welcome, glad to have you. You know, I was having some, I don't know, fuel delivery, air delivery problems with my bike, and I didn't even know it. I thought it was my imagination, and I figured, you know, I just had a stage 2 put in. But I decided to do a little research. I found this little guy right here. This, and I'm not a mechanic. I don't claim to be one. But at my age, you've learned a few things in this life, and one of them is the expansion and contraction of metals and materials. This thing's plastic. This is your M8 air intake. Now, Harley never used plastic until the M8. Everything has been aluminum, has all matched the heads. So I don't really know what they were thinking, probably not thinking. Probably just listening to the bean counters. But this is a bad idea on many fronts. Let me tell you why. One thing I've learned over the years is that, especially aluminum, it expands and contracts as it heats up and cools off. Now, you can't even put steel with aluminum because the way that they fluctuate and the way they react to heat and cold. I don't even think this thing does react. One thing I do know is whatever it's doing isn't what the aluminum's doing. It's doing something else totally. Now, these things can develop cracks, they can get heat up, they can melt, and I'll bet you 9 times out of 10, if your mechanic is looking at your bike or taking your intake off, it's loose. It never stays. Now, here's the thing. These, and I believe this too, but these can warp. These can change. I think my guy said that this has a tendency to unseal. So this is why you might be riding along and you might feel something, you take it to your guy and he can never make it happen. Because this thing doesn't do it all the time. Just sometimes. Just enough to piss you off. Then you start looking at your electrical system, your fuel delivery, and nobody can figure out what the hell it is. Well, as I was doing my research, I have 2 or 3 master mechanics that I watch on YouTube, and I trust them. And they said that this is a huge problem, and that everyone really needs to change them. Now, the mechanic at your Harley dealer is not going to tell you that. I've never heard any of them mention it. Now, one thing I did do is I went on Harley's website. They do have an aluminum version of this. It's on back order forever. So there's something going on there. But I've never had my dealers mention this at all. And I think, you know, Harley could be making it, you know, quiet under the radar. They're just kind of replacing them as need be. And you might not even notice them for a couple of years until this thing starts to dry out, starts to warp a little bit. And mine was doing it kind of taking off from a light. I just wasn't really doing it at under load, at speed. I didn't really notice it. But every time I'd come to a light, something would happen. It would just hesitate slightly, and I swear I thought it was my imagination. And then a couple of times it starts spitting at me. That's when I went to my guy and I said, look, this thing's spitting at me. And I said, can you order an aluminum intake? He said, oh yeah, those things are bad. You don't want those things. He says, I'm sorry I didn't mention it to you before, but Yeah, you need an aluminum one. Can't get them from Harley, but S&S has them, so I had him order my S&S, and he just got done sticking it on for me. And I did take a ride back, and everything seemed fine. Of course, I haven't ridden it much, just back from Dan's, and so we'll see. It might be another problem, but so far, so good. So if you've got an M8, you might want to think about looking at this, because it's not if it's going to be a problem, it's when it's going to be a problem.